Democracy Now!, democracynow.org. We are breaking with convention, War, Peace, and the Presidency. I'm Amy Goodman, broadcasting from the DNC here in Philadelphia. We're speaking to Hillary Clinton advisor Joseph Stiglitz, Nobel Prize-winning economist, Columbia University professor. I want to ask about how Bernie Sanders has impacted Clinton's economic policies, but turn first to President Obama, who mentioned the Vermont senator, the former presidential candidate, last night.
So if you agree that there's too much inequality in our economy and too much money in our politics, we all need to be as vocal and as organized and as persistent as Bernie Sanders supporters have been during this election. We all need to get out and vote for Democrats up and down the ticket, and then hold them accountable until they get the job done. That's right, feel the burn.
Wow, so there you have President Obama saying, feel the burn, Joe Stiglitz. I think that's something he certainly felt.
I think that's right. And I think the movement, as actually Sanders has talked about it, is a very important movement, and holding those elected accountable. You know, the Sanders people did have an impact on the Democratic platform, absolutely. And now we are going to have to hold accountable those people, including Hillary and our Kane. We're going to have to hold them accountable that they actually push for that agenda.
You advise Hillary Clinton. What is the best way to hold her accountable, since you don't agree on a number of issues? What does she respond to?
Well, I think partly she's a policy wonk, and so she does respond to arguments. And you know, over the last couple of years, I've been trying to make strong arguments about why TPP is bad, not only in terms of the trade issues, the GDP, but access to health, and regulation. I've been trying to say it's not an issue of just dealing with the shadow banking system. It's not an issue of just dealing with the too big to fail banks, the too big to regulate, the too big. We got to do both. So it wasn't, you know, Sanders took one position, Hillary took the other. My view has been, look, at these banks have done so much damage to our economy, both in terms of the 2008 crisis, but also increasing inequality and changing the focus to a short-term perspective. And that's one of the areas which she's picked up very strongly in a couple of very powerful speeches about the dangers of short-termism, the kinds of policies that have led to that kind of short-termism. You know, I laid out in a book that we did for the Roosevelt called Rewriting the Rules, showing how, beginning with the Reagan administration, we rewrote the rules of the American economy to promote inequality and short-termism.
What most damaged the U.S. economy, do you believe, and generated the most inequality?
The single most important thing is probably the most telling event was obviously the 2008 crisis, which is very linked to the financial sector. But one of the things that I've emphasized in my work and in rewriting the rules is that there's no single measure. It's an accumulation of thing after thing after thing. It's the failure to have inclusion of African Americans, inclusion of women, because we are almost the only civilized society that doesn't have family leave, that makes it more difficult for women to be in the labor force. That's an important, you know, we don't have a law that says you can't discriminate in wages against women. That's one of the things that Hillary's emphasized a lot, that both creates inequality and damages our economy. Education, access to education.
You wrote a piece in Vanity Fair headline, Donald Trump's biggest vulnerability. What is it?
Well, what I emphasize there is the difficulty that he's going to have of even getting good Republicans to serve. You know, creating the administration, it's not just one person. I mean, he tries to say, and this King gave a very powerful speech, and he said, believe me, I'll do it. Government is not that way, and democratic government is particularly not that way. You need to have hundreds and hundreds of people implementing those policies. You know, you have different agencies, and we are different from other countries where the president has to appoint not only the secretary, the deputy secretary, the undersecretary, the assistant secretary, in many cases the deputy assistant secretary. That's a huge number of people. And getting, take just in the area of economics, getting people who are good economists who will work with Trump is going to be extraordinarily difficult.
Donald Trump has called for getting rid of the WTO, the World Trade Organization. Certainly activists on the ground, 1999, the Battle of Seattle, that's what they were calling for. Totally challenging the TPP. Mixed message coming out of the Democrats. Are you concerned about this? And do you think Donald Trump could win? I mean, the polls show coming out at this point, he's ahead.
He could win, and it's not just the polls. Remember, Bush did not get a majority of votes. Gore got many more votes than Bush, but the way our electoral system works is that you can become the president even with a minority of votes. So when we say, could Trump be the president, he doesn't even have to win a majority of votes. He could win in the Electoral College. So yes, I am very worried. And one of the things that I've been writing recently is he's already done an enormous amount of damage to the United States. Trump
campaign chief Paul Manafort said today, Mr. Trump has said his taxes are under audit and he will not be releasing them. Why does that matter?
It matters because there is a good reason why we suspect that he has not been honest about either where his wealth is, or what his charitable contributions is, or that he's paid a fair share of his taxes. Now, even if they're under audit, he can release the taxes that he claims. The IRS may say you're wrong, but you can still say this is what I believed my income was, this is what I believed the taxes that I should have paid, and that will tell an important message. When Mitt Romney released his taxes, and it became clear he was keeping his money in the Cayman Islands, not because the Cayman Islands, money grows stronger in the sunshine of the Cayman Islands, because there were other reasons. That told Americans a lot, that he was paying under 15% of his income. What his taxes were as a fraction of his income were much, much lower than a plumber or some other person who's working for a living. Something was going on that Americans said was unfair. We would like to know, is Trump paying a fair share? He's engaged in bad practices in Trump University, who stiffed his workers and all kinds of bad practice. We want to know, is he a good citizen? Is he paying his fair share of taxes? So I think it's really important, and I think it's really important that his vice president release his taxes as well.
Joe Stiglitz, we're going to have to leave it there. Hillary advisor, Joe Stiglitz, Nobel Prize winning economist, Columbia University professor. That does it for our show.